Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story TV and the Her Story podcast. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia tonight. Welcome back to the show. Today, I am blessed with having my sister coming in from Zimbabwe. Ruth, it's good to see you there. Let me add you to the stream. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I know you're going to be chairing tonight's show. So I will hand over the baton to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gertrude. Welcome, everyone. I can't see who else we have on backstage. Maybe Gertrude, you can. But welcome everyone to this show that is part of an initiative we're driving and working together with Dr. Tererai Trent. It's the show that is looking at ending child marriages in Zimbabwe. What happened 2 weeks ago is a 14-year-old girl, Memory Machaya, died in labor whilst giving birth at an apostolic sect shrine here in Zimbabwe. And what shocked everyone and what has shocked the rest of the world is, as we are sharing this issue, as we are sharing this cause, is that the elders were watching while this child was dying in a last, giving a last breath. People were watching, and she died. It's been painful. It's heartbreaking, and there's a lot of noise. And we are organizing in the different activist groups that we have, driving that the government does something, that laws be made, and the marriage age for in Zimbabwe for children should not be 14, it should be 16, it should not even be 18. The children are still too young. So this is a very sore issue for us as women, as Her Story movement. It's a very painful issue. And we've come together and working with Dr. Trent and Gertrude Mache, who is our curator of the show and of the movement, the Her Story movement, to come up with solutions, to come up with action plans and things that we can do to actually change everything that's happening here. So thank you. Welcome, Deborah. Welcome to the show. Thank you for standing with us. We know we can always trust and depend on you for support in everything that we do, especially when it comes to the girl-child issue.
Deborah had a few stats that she wanted to share. We've started just going back and doing a bit of research on the challenge and the issue that's on the ground. Deborah, would you like to unmute and just share with us what you shared with me this morning in terms of the stats?
Hi, ladies. Thank you for inviting me once again. And this is a very sore issue for every woman, every person. It should be important to every person because it looks like we protect our properties more than we protect our children. I saw in recent data that Zimbabwe child marriage rate is 33%. Mm-hmm. Which is slightly higher than the global average of 29%. Why is it so high? Even 29%, that's so high. It's too high for us to keep quiet. I watched a video that was circulating, a guy who actually said he married, he's got 4 wives or 6 wives or whatever. And he married one of his wives at 11 years old, one at 14 years old. And the interviewee was saying, thank you so much for talking to me. Thank you so much, very politely. And I thought if this guy had said, I stole a car or I stole $10, the whole community would have beaten him up. Mm-hmm. Everybody would have instantly reacted to the thief. But because he said, I married a girl at 11 years old, we are circulating the video and watching it like it's normal. And this guy is free at the moment, walking around and having relations with this 11-year-old and having children with a child but we don't do anything because we tend to protect our property more than our children. What's more important, children or property? Because if a thief takes your dollar, you will kill that thief. But if somebody abuses your child, we keep quiet because we cannot tell the police that my brother abused my child, my husband abused my child. We are protecting the abuser.
It's almost like children are getting stolen off the playground at school. You know, if something like this was to happen in a Western country, there would be uproar, there would be protests, there would be a lot of noise that is raised. And yet, like you say, the thieves are amongst us. They are our relatives, our uncles, our aunts. And sometimes people think that just by paying the bride price, it earns them the right to own that human being. It's all about ownership and exchange of money. Ruth, weigh in here. I want to welcome Teresa. Teresa is trying to join us, but it looks to me like you haven't connected your sound. So Teresa, if you want to jump out of the call and come back in again, it might reset it. Make sure that it picks up on your mic and your video. Ruth.
Actually, you know, as I was doing more research on this issue on child marriage and why it has become, I know Malawi in the last 4 years have ended child marriages. They've banned them actually. And as I was doing research, apparently what the churches or what religion is using is they're using the Bible to just push forward this evil agenda. They're saying that David had so many wives, Solomon had so many wives, so we can also have so many wives. And also going back to the early Jewish or early African cultural traditions where girls were married off young. And in that instance, so they feel justified and when they pay lobola, then they own the girl, they own that young child, no matter how old this man is. And what's actually shocking is the child is never married to another child, a boy child. They are married off to old men. You know, the
It's
men are
basically
much, much
legalized
older.
pedophilia. If you think about it, it is
Yes,
pedophilia.
it is. And
And it's
like
rife in our
Deborah is
society.
saying, they are
It
walking
is.
amongst us. These are criminals and they are walking in our midst. And we just quiet.
Yeah, it's shocking. Teresa, welcome to the call. You may or may not be able to switch on your video, but let us know who you are, where you're based, what you could weigh into this discussion.
Good morning, ladies.
Morning.
My name is Teresa Manenji. I am in Harare at the moment, and I am very heartbroken by this child marriage issue that seems to keep going on and on unabated. I have 3 sons. All of them to whom I alerted of this child marriage, rape, abuse. Last Sunday, my eldest son is 15. I called him and then I said to him, "Do you know that if you were a girl, by now you would have had 2, 3 pregnancies and probably just one surviving child?" So, from my perspective, I'm trying to teach my boy children to grow up to be responsible men that are alert of the evil that some of the men in this country seem to perpetuate with pleasure. I'm failing to hold back emotions because it's just so sad. The innocence of an 11-year-old giving birth. Imagine the pain of labor, the loss of blood that one can experience in a health facility. Now tell me about giving birth at an apostolic sect shrine in the dead of winter, very cold temperatures, And everybody just seems to say, it has always been like that. It is, this is just too much. Something has to be done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Teresa. It is great to have you be a part of this movement and a part of this community. Girls, with your permission, I want to share a TED Talk, a video by Dr. Tererai Trent. She was one of these girls, you know, until I watched her TED Talk, I hadn't quite known her backstory, but she was married off at the age of 11, managed by a miracle to get out of that situation, get her bachelor's degree, her master's degree, her PhD. Absolutely inspiring story. So I'll see if I can share my screen. And Deborah, if you can just let me know whether the sound is coming through. The TED Talk is called Forgotten Women and Girls. So Deborah, give me a thumbs up if you can hear this and see it.
In my village in Zimbabwe, the birth of a child is only complete when a female elder snips the umbilical cord, wraps it in an old cloth from a dress once worn by the mother, and buries the child's umbilical cord deep down in the ground, with the belief that when the child grows, wherever they go, whatever happens in their life, they will never forget their birthplace. Both my mother and my grandmother believed that through the soil, the umbilical cord will always connect us to our birth and our death. You see, I come from a long line of generations of women who had been married young before they defined their dreams, and most of the time to older men. My great-grandmother became the 60th wife to my great-grandpa. My grandmother became the 50th wife to my grandpa. My mother ended up taking care of many children that my father had sired with many, many women. In the middle of the night, people would come and wake up my grandmother to go and deliver babies. And she delivered many babies in the community and far. As my grandmother was getting old, her eyes were failing her, and she would shake uncontrollable. And she would jokingly say, "You see, baby girl, these hands, they shake because they delivered many babies. And these eyes are becoming blind because these eyes, they've seen many private parts." That got me thinking, if my grandmother had been educated, maybe she would have become one of the best gynecologists in my community, if not the whole world. I grew up during the war that liberated my country. I remember listening to one of the freedom fighters during the war, and he said, "To educate is to empower is to liberate, And to liberate is to enable individuals to have dignity. In the year 2000, global leaders at the United Nations Millennium Summit came up with 8 goals. And 2 of those goals are directly linked to education. All children everywhere, both boys and girls, would have achieved universal education by 2015 and end gender disparities in both primary and secondary education. We are in 2015. Where are we today? With 62 million girls being denied the right to education, Sub-Saharan Africa becomes the largest reservoir, with girls not attending school. Girls in this region, they account for 55% who are not attending school, with almost 52% of adolescents who are out of school. Who are these girls? And what are their characteristics? What do they have in common? Data tells us that these girls, they come from poor rural families. Their mothers never attended school. If they do, they had very little education. Every day in Sub-Saharan Africa, 39,000 girls are married before they attain the age of 18. That takes me to my own childhood story. By the time I turned 18, I was a mother of 3, and one child died as an infant because I could not produce enough milk to feed the child. I was a child myself. At 22 years of age, I was a battered wife, just following the same pathway that generations of women before me had traveled. Then soon after independence, I met a woman who profoundly changed my life. She came to my village and she found me with other women. We were sitting in a circle. She joined the circle. She started talking about education and how her organization is changing the lives of many women. Women who did not have an education, but because of this organization's intervention, women were getting their education and able to send their own children to school. Wow. I had never heard anyone talking about education for older women like me, battered, hopeless. Other women started talking as they were communicating with this stranger. I kept quiet. The stranger looked at me and she said, "You have been quiet. What are your dreams?" Me having dreams? I'd never had anyone asking me about my dreams. I opened my mouth. My name is Tererai. I want to have an education. I want to have an undergraduate degree. I want to have a master's, and I want to have a PhD. Silence followed my declaration. I could feel the other women asking, how can that be possible? What about your children? What about the abusive husband? I don't even know where I got the courage to share my dreams. Later, I learned the woman's name was Jo Luck, At that time, she was the program officer for HEFA International, and later she became the CEO and president of the organization. I ran to my mother and I told my mother what had happened. My mother said, if you believe in what this woman had said to you, because the woman had said, Jolak had said, your dreams are achievable. And she kept on emphasizing the word achievable, which means tinogona in my language. So my mother said, if you believe in what this woman has said to you, and you desire these dreams, and you work hard to achieve these dreams, not only are you defining who you are, but you are also defining every life that comes out of your womb and generations to come. Tererai, write down your dreams and bury them the same way we bury the umbilical cord. I wrote my dreams. I want to go to America. I want to have an undergraduate degree, a master's, and a PhD. My mother said, read back your dreams to me, and I did. And my mother said, your dreams will have greater meaning when they are tied to the betterment of your community. That's what makes life meaningful. And she handed me an old can where I wrapped my dreams and I buried my dreams. It took me 8 years to achieve my GED, 8 years of abuse, 8 years of struggling to get the next tuition for the next class that I needed to correspond. But 8 years of never giving up. A year after I achieved my GED, I found myself at Oklahoma State University, where I completed my undergraduate in agriculture and my master's in plant pathology. 20 years from the day I buried my dreams, I received my PhD at Western Michigan University. I remember walking to the podium to receive that paper that now says, you are a PhD holder. I felt like a lawyer who had rested her case to the world. And if there are lawyers and prosecutors in this room, please forgive me. And here was my closing statement. If we give opportunities to those who are marginalized and torn down by the social ills of our time, they can achieve their dreams. If we give opportunities to women and girls, if we give them an opportunity for an education, it will be the best investment any country could do. Now I have my PhD. How on earth was I going to fulfill my fifth dream? The dream of giving back to my community. The dream that my mother said, your dreams will have greater meaning when they are tied to the betterment of your community. Then an idea came. I remember Jolak using the word, it is achievable. In my language, it means tinogona. I designed my own t-shirts. And I had the words tinogona, it is achievable. I was ready to go and sell these t-shirts and make millions of money and go and change the lives of women in my village. I was going to be a champion. But guess what? I only sold 20 t-shirts, and mostly to my friends. I realized I didn't have a marketing degree. I was devastated. Then I got a phone call, the most memorable phone call of my life, a phone call from Oprah Winfrey. And she donated 1.5 million to build a brand new school in my community. In what gives me joy is when I see old men in the village holding their girls and taking them to school. One day, this old man comes to me holding his 8-year-old daughter. With tears streaming down his face, he says, "Tererai, can she be just like you?" In that moment, I realized not only are we improving education, but we are also transforming communities. We love talking about empowering women and girls because ultimately we are expressing our desire to right the wrongs that these women and girls are subjected to in our society. But those aspirations are shadowed not only by the policies we make, but also by the decisions that we make at individual level. You know, Chief Seattle wisely noted, humankind has not woven the web of life. We are one thread within it. Whatever we do to the web, we are doing it to ourselves. All things are brought together. All things connect. Our survival is tied to the survival of others. Ladies and gentlemen, I come here to TED to bury a dream in your heart. A sacred dream to educate all girls in our communities. Whatever you do, wherever you go, this dream that I have buried in your heart will always remind you of the importance of educating girls. Education is everything. Education gives us dignity. Education liberates. It liberates the girl child. It could have liberated my grandmother. I know it is achievable. Tinogona, thank you.
Welcome back, ladies. Time to switch back our videos. I didn't realize I'm not on camera myself. And welcome to our newcomers. We have Tsitsi and we've got Kathleen. Tsitsi, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us where you are. What are your thoughts? What are your ideas? Just listening to the show so far. And Kathleen, if you would like to switch to your video and join us, that would be great. Ruth.
Thank you, Gertrude. I think people are having challenges connecting because I struggle to get back on as well. I like what Dr. Trent said. I've come to bury a dream in your heart. That's awesome, hey? That she is a dream about.
What I took from that, like all of these children are like seeds. All of these visions are like seeds that we bury. We have to water them. We have to nurture them until they grow and they become visible.
Wow.
Very, very powerful presentation.
Okay.
Is it just me who's hearing an
powerful? And she says, if my grandmother.
Can you guys hear?
I know I'm also hearing an echo.
It's coming from Kathleen, I think.
Okay. Let's see if I hear her.
I think I've done it.
Okay. Yep, now it's gone. So Kathleen, if you want to reconnect on a different device, there is an echo coming from your computer. So just drop out of the call and come back in again. Sorry, who did I interrupt there? Was that you or Deborah? Who was going to chime in?
Yes. Ruth,
Go for it.
The grandmothers.
Okay. Yes, I was going to mention about the grandmothers, because I've been thinking that if we sit back and do nothing, our grandchildren, our granddaughters will look back and say, but our grandmothers had an opportunity to speak into this matter and they didn't speak. They did not act to stop this abuse, to stop this barbaric, evil act towards the girl child. So I've been feeling really like we have to do something. And sometimes I feel hopeless and helpless because where we were supposed to start with the policymakers and the legislators, there is no movement. And you kind of feel stuck like, now what? But I really believe we all have to do something. We have a part to play in this issue. We cannot go on talking about it. I mean, Malawi has done it. They've banned the child marriages. Why can we not be the same? Why are we in the, what was it? What are we in the, according to the last, there's a post you put, Gertrude, on Facebook, where in the world there's, I think it's about 60% of African nations are still perpetuating the child marriages. Why do we still have that high mark? I know there's issues of poverty, there's issues of people not having enough, and then the families selling off their girls. So that brings us back to the issue of economic empowerment through education, and not only for the girls and the women, but I think also the fathers. They need to be educated. We can't carry on with this issue without bringing the men on board.
Yeah, the fathers, the brothers, the uncles, the grandfathers, our men folk need to be taking a stance on this very issue. Thank you for that, Ruth. Deborah. And then Kathleen?
Because if men don't take a stand, if the father doesn't take a stance, not many mothers are willing to go against the father. Okay? So we have to bring in the fathers, because not all women will walk away and protect their children. They will look at the economic situation, they will look at themselves and think, there's no way I can do this with my 7 children. I'm going to have to stay. This is why women are killed out of abuse, because they stay and they endure, because I'm staying for my children situation. So like Ruth said, if we tackle the economic situation, we are empowering the parents to say, look, even if you leave this guy, you are a farmer. Your farming will sustain you and your children. You can sell your products over here. You can actually do this. Because these women are so hardworking. These parents, even the fathers, they are so hardworking. It's a shame they don't have jobs. They don't have anywhere to go. So we can push education. But we also need to push the economy in our little communities. Because if you wait for the government, this thing isn't going to happen. In our little communities, once the parents are empowered to say no to the church laws. Kathleen said her father refused for her to be married early in the church, and they left the church. The father said, I'm leaving the church. So if more and more people leave the church, to be a church, it has to have people. Now, if more and more parents say, no, I'm leaving then. If you marry my child, I'm leaving the church. These churches will be empty. So they will be forced to change their laws, because then they won't have anyone worshiping in them, will they? More and more parents say, no, not my child, and they leave. Who is he going to worship with? The founder of the church is going to have to change the church rules. So we have to empower both parents, mother and father, because not many women will walk away. It's hard to be a single mother, I know. And in our culture, it's also the stigma. And not all of these women are educated. And they want to educate their children. So they need the economic, a stable economic for them also to be able to educate their children.
Yeah, I think you're right. It does boil down to the economics of things, but more so to bringing on board the men. Until we start getting men in the rooms where these discussions are being held, nothing much is going to change for the status of women globally. It's not just Zimbabwe. Kathleen, I'm going to unmute you. If you would like to chime in here. And Teresa, just put it in the chat if you want me to unmute you so you can contribute as well. We'll start with you, Kathleen.
Okay, I'm in now.
Yeah, I'm just saying, wait on the conversation. Any comments?
Sorry.
I'm saying, would you like to weigh in and contribute to where we are in the discussion right now?
Yes, thank you, Gertrude, for having me this morning, and good morning, everyone. Just as Sister Debbie was saying, in many cases, we see that women have got no say to themselves, even more to their children, because normally when the child is born, it's yours. But once the child is grown up, the father's child. So in many times, it will be the father who is in charge of your child. You are not part of it. So for that reason, until we have men to contribute to this talk and to our issues, I see us being stagnant and not going anywhere, because they are the ones who are changing rules and making rules each time. And they also create an atmosphere which they look at a woman and think a woman doesn't think. They can only think for her. So for that reason, we find ourselves in a corner again. And also about the economic empowerment. As long as there is no economic empowerment to the women or the fathers as well, because there are times when this father really would wish their children to go to school. And then if he ends up in a corner as well where he cannot manage. So because he cannot manage even to look after this family, which he will have created sometimes, because they marry 2, 3, 4 women and there's a lot of children there. We've heard a lot of stories where someone has got 17 children, 48 children, 50 children. So if that man is not earning, how is he managing to look after those children and sending them to school? Several times it's the mother, it's the girl child who actually have to look for ways on how to send her children to school, which is very hard. Normally you find that it's the mothers who are struggling each time and more. So until man realizes their goals, their responsibilities, and also the recognition of the girl child, we have to keep on fighting for our voices to be heard.
Thank you, Kathleen. Teresa, would you like to weigh in now with your ideas, your thoughts around potential solutions? And it's good to have you back, Ruth. I can see you dropping in and out of the call. Just keep on trying. The connection in Zimbabwe is challenging. Go ahead, Teresa.
Thank you very much. I do agree with all that you have said, in particular, economic empowerment. Without that, we definitely are stagnant and we will have this problem perpetuating. Now is the time to initiate or to strengthen economic empowerment amongst women, in particular rural settings, so that when they are empowered, you realize the men feel so threatened by economically empowered women to the extent that they sort of move on. When a woman is empowered, she can move on and pursue the dreams that she has for her and her children. Seeing fathers only come around when it's time to decide the bride price, like you were saying earlier. So indeed, I agree with all that you're saying. We definitely need to do something about empowering our women economically. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa. Ruth, let's talk about some practical steps. We've got a lot of our sisters tuning in and listening from all over the world. What are some practical, tangible steps that people can help us with so we create either a fund or a foundation or a way that we can economically empower women in Zimbabwe so they can look after their kids?
Thank you, Gertrude. I'm thinking farming, whether it's gardening or it's the actual farming that women have always been doing. Because when you go into the villages and you look at the population that is working the fields or working the gardens and producing the crops, it is the women. Mm-hmm. So that's a starting point. Maybe supply input for them, give them the crops, seedlings that they will need to start projects and create markets for them. So facilitate after their harvest, facilitate a market for them. And the market is available for food. There will always be a market. So having someone championing that, having someone arranging that when their crops are harvested or when their vegetables are harvested, then it's straight to the market to a person who is paying them. And that's giving them that economic empowerment. I'm also thinking of cooperatives where women can come together. You know, the kind of projects that we've done in Mazivisa, the bakeries, the sewing projects, where women are coming together and sewing uniforms for the local schools and selling to the villages, because the villages are buying uniform anyway. So whether they are buying from ENB or they're buying from you, they still need to buy. So encouraging villagers to support or encouraging communities to support projects within their communities in terms of buying from them and sourcing from them. So definitely practical solutions that we can implement. We know that it has worked in Mazivisa. We know it can be done, Gertrude. It's just harnessing the women's power together and finding the project that will give them the financial support and the financial ability that they need.
Well, what excites me is that, you know, the tribal trust lands in Zimbabwe are not sold. Imagine if we were to start an initiative and we spoke to our local chiefs, got gifted land, and started the cooperatives you're talking about, Ruth. I mean, all we need is access to the seed and distribute seeds to these women so they can start growing vegetables, they can start growing corn, they can start producing excess that can be sold in the marketplace. Like you're saying, food right now is something that can be consumed very, very easily. And that kind of excites me. We've seen and started a project very similar, like you said, in Mazivisa village in Shurugwi. And our local chief gifted us with acres and acres of land. So imagine if we did that on a bigger scale, on a coordinated scale, where the women knew that as soon as their crop is ready, there's somebody there who's ready to buy it and pay them a decent price for their labor as well. I think that would be an exciting project to kick this off, because it will take very, very little. All we need is to get seed and start distributing seed in Zimbabwe and canvassing for land and creating these cooperatives where women can come together. You know, I was saying to Ruth and to Deborah the other day, Dr. Tererai Trent is really a classical example of what we have done in the past. Her project is called the Baton Project, where we are passing on the baton to someone else. Humusha, we all have Maricho, where if we are harvesting, we will go to Deborah's fields today and help her harvest. Tomorrow we'll go to your field, Teresa. The next day we're at Ruth's. The next day, Kathleen. The next day, Dr. Tererai Trent. The next day you come to mine. Why can't we use the same concepts? Because the power that women has lies in the collaboration. It lies in us galvanizing the energy, the power that we have, getting behind one thing at a time, putting laser focus on it and making it succeed. Let's talk a little bit about collaboration and what your thoughts are, ladies, on collaboration, in particular with what Dr. Tererai Trent is trying to do right now. Deborah.
I love the farming suggestion very much. But when these people produce products, we produce excess, and then we see a lot of waste. So we need to tackle that end as well. We need a progression, like cabbages. You see heaps and heaps of cabbages rotting away. We need to learn to dry them, dried cabbages. Yes. Tomatoes, if a tomato is broken, we're not buying it. How can you sell me a broken tomato? But that tomato can make tomato sauce.
Mm-hmm.
So we need these women to know that their products shouldn't go to waste. Whatever is not used at the market can be dried, can be processed into something else. And this is where industrialization is going to pick up in the community. Because once these women get these machines to make tomato sauce, can you imagine? No tomatoes will be wasted. When they dry their cabbages, these cabbages will be available for winter then. And they can supply. And these women make a lot of beads, a lot of earrings, a lot of very, very creative. And the men too. They carve beautiful things, but these beautiful things, the market in Africa is not very good because everybody's carving, and the economy is not good enough. So people are not buying luxury goods. People are focusing right now on food. So how about we also help them to open up international markets? Because at the moment, people in diaspora are missing home so much. So you find we are reverting back to African dressing, African earrings, African this, African, even our artifacts in our houses. We are decorating our houses in African style. So these women, these parents can have a market internationally because we buy at better price. Let's face it. We buy these things at much, much better price because in Zimbabwe, it might sell for $2. We buy it here for 70 pounds. And that 70 pounds alone is enough to put one child to school.
Yeah.
Or even 2 or 3. And
I think what you're saying, Deborah, is that we really need to build a bridge,
yes,
between those of us who are out of Africa,
yes,
and those who are on the ground. You know, everybody has got access to cell phones right now. You might know that we have started an initiative where we collect secondhand cell phones. And because people have got access to WhatsApp in Zimbabwe, necklaces, earrings, any type of jewelry, someone can take a picture on their phone of a pair of earrings they made, send us the picture. We can market and sell that product based on their story and transmit the money back on the phone. So let's utilize the technology that's there. Our banking system in Zimbabwe is dependent on telephone technology. Imagine if we all did this. Wherever we are in the world, we talk to our friends, we collected secondhand cell phones, we ship them to Zimbabwe, and we create that bridge so that people do get access to international prices for product like the jewelry, the artifacts for the home, etc. I love that idea. I absolutely love that idea.
and if they've got products, if they come together like a cooperative and have good quantities of these products, they can supply overseas shops. Because at the moment, people are into eating healthy, and we do organic like nobody else in Africa.
Yeah.
Okay, people are now eating healthy. Things that we didn't think matter, like aloe vera, we've got it. I mean, we are cutting it down. It's weeds. It's a nuisance in the fields because it spreads everywhere. But
And
here we
kale.
are, yeah,
Kale.
kale. We've got kale. We've got mint tea that we are picking from the forest. And these are the things we are buying in health shops here. There are health shops here that you go and buy even wild fruits from Africa. And you buy a small packet like this for £4. And these are the fruits that in Africa are free.
Yeah.
They're rotting in the forest because we can't eat them all. These markets can be opened because if these women work together, they've got good enough quantities to export. Because exporting means you have to have tons and tons. And they can work together and gather these fruits and dry these vegetables and provide this kale and supply and get good money for what they're working for. We can make that available because we are already here. We are already overseas. We can knock on these doors and say, look, I've got women here producing a BCD. What can you do? Can you help us? Can you order from us? And we can learn how to do it. We don't have any excuse to say, oh, I've never exported. I don't know how to do it. We can learn how to do this.
That excites me. That really excites me. So let's put together a call to action here for anybody out there who's listening to this show, who might be inspired to come on board and be a part of this amazing solution to the problems that we're faced with right now. Let's not let the death of this young girl go for no reason. Let's use the pain that we're feeling in our hearts to really start something big in her memory. And if anybody is interested, please contact us. The email address is admin@herstorycircle.com. If you would like to get behind our teachers in terms of creating an educational program that can be delivered online, get in touch with us. If you are somebody who would like to be an angel investor and help us grow, buy the seed that is needed to start a kale project or a banana project or a fruit project, like Deborah said, we can dry these fruits, we can steam them, we can pickle, we can make tomato sauce. Please come on board as angel investors. Anything else, girls? Let's put out a call to action. This video is going far. What other resources do we need to make this happen? You can unmute if you want to say something.
We need to stop, as women, we need to stop thinking as enemies. We need to collaborate. All women everywhere are in the same boat. All women everywhere. I keep saying women because I work with women a lot. We need our men to understand as well, but because I work with women, it's easier for me to say all women. Someone's child is your child. If you can walk away from an abused child, how do you walk away from a child crying? I used to laugh because when I first moved here, if I see a child fall, I'll go "Mwana wangu," and go to help. And then I had to stop myself because some people don't want you holding their child. But my instinct is to jump and hold that baby. Don't cry. Come here. "Mwana wangu," and go to pick up a baby and go, okay, not my child, not my child, walk away, walk away. Because how do you walk away from a dead 14-year-old who was giving birth with no health care? There was no health care. How do we not give our children health care? How do you watch your child cry and write in pain and refuse them a painkiller because the church said you can't give them painkillers? And my question is, if you as an adult break a leg, are you going to pray it away or are you going to go to the hospital? Healthcare. What about healthcare? Children are dying because they are not immunized. Because you are denying them healthcare, you are going to pray and pray. After losing 10, 15 children, are you still going to pray? Come on. We need to end some of these cultures. We need to end some of these rituals and protect children. First of all, protect our children. Maybe clinics, maybe pop-up clinics. There are containers that can be customized into a room. We can do containers customized into a room, and those are pop-up clinics. One nurse, maybe on Wednesday, the nurse comes on Wednesday, and people in that locality knows on Wednesday the nurse is coming. They go and get help. On Thursday, the nurse is coming. 1 day a week is enough. I've seen a woman who's done it in India. 1 day a week. And a clinic only opened 1 day because it's voluntary nurses. They will come and do voluntary work. And they can only give 1 day. And these people are struggling. Some of them walk miles to go to a clinic. 1 day a week. They all go and get help. We need to think
we need these solutions. We need the creative solutions. Okay, we have a minute to go. Ruth, we want to chime in, Teresa and Kathleen, before we call it a night.
Yes, definitely.
I'm so excited about what Deborah said. It does excite me in a way that we are focusing and thinking this is what we can do, or this is what we can advise other women. But then we need people on the ground, because like the instance of Zimbabwe, which is our country, we will be facing so many challenges there because of the situation at home. So we really need to think of that one. Who are we talking to, and which route are we taking? Because without the other politicians not chipping in and not knowing what is going on, they will hinder the progress still. That's my thinking. Because as far as land is concerned, we've got so much land in Zimbabwe, which women can utilize, even fathers, they can utilize, because we are not talking of saying it's women only who can work. Even there are men who are quite good into doing things and helping their families and communities in Zimbabwe. So it's a question of us knowing how, especially for some of us who have stayed away for a long time, we do not know the situation on the ground. We only read and see what is going on videos. So we need you guys, whoever is in Zimbabwe, to take the lead to say, this is what we will do. Otherwise, that program with Deborah is quite exciting.
Ruth, you are on the ground. You have used some serious guerrilla warfare tactics in the past. We know we can do this. We have already done it. So it excites me to, initiate this, and really let's now build an army of women who can come to Zimbabwe and make a difference in some way. So I want to thank you again, ladies, for being on the show today, for brainstorming these solutions, for thinking about ways that we can make a difference. I'll let you close off, Ruth. Unmute. Mm-hmm.
Unmute. Okay. Thank you, Gertrude. I'm also very excited because this has always been our dream, where we're saying our projects in Mazivisa, they can be replicated or across the world, actually across Africa, and we can do the guerrilla tactics like we did, and just at the end of the day, I think what really matters is when we hand over the projects to the people, it becomes a community-owned project. We just facilitate, we give the help that they need, and we are behind the scenes and they're running with it. That makes it sustainable instead of coming in and doing everything for them. So I'm excited because I know this kind of projects will work. I know this initiative can take root throughout Zimbabwe. So I'm excited. Thank you, Deborah, for that. And we can have the tours that we've been having to Africa, the African tours, Africa Alive tours, where we bring in people from the diaspora, the doctors, the teachers, different professionals to come and just train the villagers in doing things the right way, but with a process and systems. So very exciting. I am very excited. So now to put it into action, we need to have timelines. And I think when we talk next, then we will need to talk about timelines. We need to talk about who do we rope in, where can we get help, and all the kind of things that we need to run to have the administration in place. But thank you, ladies. Thank you, Teresa, for jumping in. Tomorrow we are back again at the same time. I'll share the link. Please forgive me. I forgot to share the links with Deborah and Kathleen yesterday, but I'll share the link as soon as I have it so that you can share with other women and invite other women to come to this program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruth. And maybe let's create a closed Facebook group called The Power of Education. Let's add people in that group so we've got one place where we share the link every day.
Awesome. Thank you
very much, ladies. We'll be back again tomorrow. What was it? 6:30 p.m. for me, 10:30 a.m. for all of you in Zimbabwe, 11 in the UK, I think.
9:30.
9:30 in the UK. Have a fantastic evening, everybody. And thank you so much for your contributions. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.